Welcome back. Now, the South African comic Kevin Fraser is on a tour of the Middle East.
One-on-one with the Minister of Entertainment. Our Batya Leventhal meeting South African stand-up comedian Kevin Fraser as he takes on the Middle East. Can humor solve geopolitics? Maybe. Here's more.
He's been performing in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, and tonight he's in Tel Aviv. Well, our Batya Leventhal sat down with Kevin to talk about his Minister of Entertainment show and about his impressions of his first visit to this part of the world. Take a listen.
Kevin, welcome to i24 News. Very nice to have you both here in our studios and in Israel. And just before getting to the comedic side of things, give us a little bit of an overview of your experience at the moment as a first-timer in the Middle East.
Absolutely. It's my first time here. Pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'm just so glad to be able to be back on the road and touring again. And the people, the culture, the food, it's been amazing. And I just can't wait to be back already, and I haven't even left yet.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the contrasting sort of views between places like Qatar and to some extent the United Arab Emirates and a place like Israel that's a little bit more liberal in terms of cultural sensitivities. Have you found that some of these may clash, or is comedy just a global thing?
I think comedy is definitely a global thing, and when it comes to my shows, I'm able to dive into these areas and soak up the local culture and experience everything that these countries have to offer and use that as fuel to my fire in my shows. So I think it's really important to play to that, and it creates a huge sense of relatability between people that are coming to watch my shows.
And speaking of things that are relatable, do you find that some of your jokes perhaps don't necessarily elicit the same response amongst people? We're talking about the fact that you do shows in places like South Africa and Australia and the UK, which are all part of the Commonwealth and have sort of that commonality.
Yeah.
But what about the Middle East?
Well, I think no show is the same, so that's all the more reason to come. But I think that that's why I try and spend a good few days in a city or in that country prior to the show, so that I can really see what it is that I can attach myself to in terms of the jokes and the comedy and deliver that on stage.
What sort of things did you find in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and here in Israel that you feel like you've been able to pull from for your sets?
For example, going to Qatar, it was just, I've never been there before either, and it's a beautiful city, and I mean, I just didn't leave the beach for starters, so first thing I noticed was that there really are no waves, but that made it all the while better for me to be able to swim and enjoy it. And coming to Israel, I've only been here for what feels like 5 minutes, but I just found that the people are vibrant and loud and fun, and I feel this energy here, and I like to play towards that. I'll find ways to play with that in my show. Yeah.
Being in places like the United Arab Emirates and Israel, and as well as Qatar, which doesn't yet officially have relations with Israel, but hopefully in the future, many people say that after the first time that they've been to these places that they feel such a similarity amongst the cultures and cannot begin to understand why there's so much conflict and fighting. Did you feel that at all? Do you feel like the people have same values, beliefs, one in the same? Is the culture similar, or do you feel like there are some disparities?
I think that we're all so similar, and the more I travel, the more I'm able to do these regions, and like in this occasion come to the Middle East and now have the ability to travel between them. It's certainly been able to provide a platform for me to choose these cities and do the shows. So I'm really grateful to that. But at the end of the day, yes, I feel like we're all just people, and we do similar things. We all enjoy similar, whether it be cuisine or social activities. And I like to play to that. You know, that's the kind of comedian I am. And I think that I try and embody all of that in my shows and performances and all the content that I create online.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you traveled to Qatar first, then the United Arab Emirates, and then on a direct flight from the United Arab Emirates to Tel Aviv, which, mind you, 3 years ago, before the signing of the historic Abraham Accords, was not a thing. Did you feel that for a lot of Israelis that travel this route, it's become quite a big deal that this was not something that was possible a few years ago? Was there any kind of feelings or knock-off effects of the Abraham Accords that you felt in the UAE and in Israel, or not so much?
Not so much, but I'm very grateful that I have this ability, because it enabled me to be able to curate a full Middle Eastern tour and finally come and perform in Israel. And although I was a little bit nervous about, traveling directly from one to the other, I think that the fact that it was possible, it was a smooth process, enjoyed the flight, and I was welcomed with open arms here, so I'm very grateful to that.
As someone who's grown up and lives in South Africa, what do you notice are perhaps maybe some of the funniest or at least some of the biggest changes? I know for one, as an expat from South Africa, a lot of the time the level of politeness that we have compared to some people in the Middle East, is there something along those lines that you have found to be a complete difference between the two cultures?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything is just a sensation overload when getting here. And there's, although some things may seem chaotic, there's always, as I said, there's beauty in the chaos. And I feel like here we just say it how it is, and we'll tell you straight. So I'm really vibing with that, because I think we could probably learn a bit from that back at home. Yeah.
A lot of your social media videos, which, mind you, I should point out, have got not just thousands but millions of views, a lot of them play on some very serious and very difficult issues that South Africans have to go through on a daily. Do you find that you're able to take some of the, almost poke fun at some of the hard things that are happening worldwide in current events or political events? Or is your audience more geared towards the issues and the crises that are going on in South Africa?
I think, I suppose, having grown up there and just experienced everything every day, I embody all of that in my content, and it's definitely fuel to my fire, as I say. And I think that it's important, it's so important to be able to laugh at ourselves, to be able to connect with people through laughter, through pain, through sadness, through all these things that we face every day. I mean, life is difficult, it's challenging. We all have our issues and our debacles in different countries and environments, and just like South Africa has its issues, the rest of the world does. And I think wherever I travel, and let it be Australia or the States or wherever, like you find what's kind of plotting there, and you can play to that. I've just had the ample opportunity in a place like South Africa to do that, so yeah.
And you're quite naughty in a sense in terms of poking fun at certain people. I mean, just recently you posted a photo from Qatar, as you mentioned, spending a lot of time on the beach in a Speedo, in a country that's quite conservative when it comes to religion and values. Did you feel like this was something that you were poking fun at? Was it just a matter of you being your authentic self? Was there that sort of restriction, and are you feeling it anywhere else that you've traveled in the Middle East?
Well, I think that was a classic Kevin moment, pulling out his budgie smuggler from Australia, and just enjoying my day on the beach. It did generate a bit of conversation, but I think there was nothing intended there. Just me enjoying sun again.
And something that we cover a lot here, not just at I24 News, but across the Middle East, obviously as a repercussion, if you will, from, or as a knock-on effect from the Abraham Accords that were signed in 2020, is the potential next steps, the next peace deals that we can make in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is a key country that Israel's currently got its sights on, at least the current government. Is that a country that you would see yourself visiting as well? And what would it be like then flying from a country like Saudi Arabia, a hardcore Gulf kingdom, to a place like Israel that has never formally had any kind of relations?
Absolutely. I think, well, first and foremost, I've got to ensure that I have an audience there and that I resonate there. And should it be an option one day, I'd love to. I've heard it's a beautiful country to visit, and there's so much you can do. So that would be, it would be something I would do if I felt it necessary to tour there. I think that I just have to be wary of how to travel logistically. And hopefully, as time goes on, we see more unity between all of us, and we're able to overcome any differences.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And the truth is, that's where comedy comes in, that we can sit and laugh and poke fun at ourselves. I know you do on a daily basis. and also do around the world. And I want to point out to our audience that you are in Tel Aviv performing. It's your show, Minister of Entertainment, that you have done not just in South Africa and Australia, but that you're doing in the Middle East and then taking to the UK and Ireland, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
as well.
Ireland, yes.
And I just want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for being here, and keep poking fun at people and at yourself as well along the way. And
Always.
hopefully we'll see you again in Tel Aviv pretty soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kevin.